My fiancé Owen was fanatically pursuing a poor female college student. The girl was cold and proud. Unwilling to be a caged bird at the mercy of the powerful, she stopped my car in the heavy rain, with a stubborn look on her face. Sarah, keep your fiancé in check. Although I'm poor, I'm not someone to be humiliated at will. In order not to humiliate her, Owen turned around and broke off our engagement, then spent 200 million yuan to marry that girl in a high-profile manner. 3 years later, I got engaged again. Owen showed up uninvited and drank himself to gastric bleeding at the engagement banquet, and was rushed to the hospital for emergency treatment. Luna, who had become Mrs. Tudor, burst into my office and asked me through gritted teeth, "Now everyone knows that you're the white moonlight Owen can't forget, and I've become the laughingstock in the circle. You must be very proud, Sarah, right?" The surroundings fell silent. It was well known that the Howard and Tudor families had a huge feud over a female student before, which ended with the girl marrying into the wealthy family. No one expected there would be a sequel to this drama. I couldn't help but frown slightly. Have Luna been a wealthy lady for 3 years and still be so impulsive? I said infuriately, "Mrs. Tudor, we don't seem to be on such familiar terms that you can call me by my first name next time. Please call me Sarah if you have something to discuss with me. Please make an appointment with my secretary." Luna's face paled a bit, looking rather embarrassed. My expression is still as water. She was dressed in luxury brands from head to toe, completely different from her poor student appearance 3 years ago. Only her expression remained as cold and stubborn as ever. 3 years ago Owen told me that he was attracted by the unique temperament of Luna. Poor as she was, she had integrity. Something that people like us lack the most in this circle. People put interests first, and even marriage could be exploited. It was common for married couples and business alliances to have their own affairs, so when someone told me that Owen was fanatically pursuing a Chinese literature major, I didn't care. When Luna came to see me, I didn't care either, but I really didn't expect that Owen would break off our engagement for her. I asked him calmly, "Are you sure? Are you sure?" "Oh, actually, I don't care what you do outside." Owen's face darkened upon hearing this. He was silent for a long time and then said, "She's different from those women out there. She doesn't want my money at all." Of course she was different. She wanted more than those women, though. I thought her ridiculous. In the filthy mire of the aristocratic family, there could still be someone as naive as Owen. I agreed to the engagement. Breaking the price was that the Tudor family would give me the project worth over 100 million in Beijing. After reaching an agreement, as Owen was about to leave, he suddenly asked me, "Sarah, did you ever love me?" I didn't answer at that time. But actually, I had liked him. My parents were also in a business arranged marriage. My mother was unfortunate. She fell in love with my father in a marriage full of interest exchanges, but my father was a playboy. He had affairs outside and finally died in his mistress's bed. My mother couldn't accept it. She had a serious illness. After recovering, she became devout to Buddhism and secluded herself from worldly affairs. My grandfather was very angry and disappointed with my father's disgraceful death. And he also didn't like me. Only then did my grandfather notice me again. After I graduated from university, my grandfather was going to choose a new heir. I wasn't the only candidate. Besides my father, my grandfather had 2 daughters and an illegitimate son named Silas. My aunts just wanted to enjoy the benefits without doing anything and had no interest in inheriting the family business as an illegitimate son. Silas became my biggest rival. I endured great pressure every day, trying hard to achieve some results to prove my strength. I did quite well. And the company's performance had multiplied several times. But that didn't make my grandfather look at me differently until I got engaged to Owen. The Tudor family was an old established aristocratic family comparable to the Howard family. The alliance between our 2 families would surely bring a win-win situation for both sides. Only then did my grandfather officially announce that I would take over the Howard family and become the new heir. Owen had rescued me from difficult situations twice. It was only natural that I would be attracted to him. However, those little feelings of attraction became unimportant after Luna appeared. I wouldn't be a loser like my father or an escapist like my mother, who would always stand at the top. No one could pull me down, not even love. Luna started crying silently. She really had a kind of delicate and ethereal beauty, and when she cried, she had a broken-hearted look. But what she said was absurd. "Sarah, could you be kind-hearted and leave my marriage with Owen? I really can't stand it anymore. Everyone was immediately in an uproar. I could already imagine what the headline of tonight's news would be: Howard Group's female president meddling in her ex-fiancé's marriage, Sarah and Owen still having an affair. My secretary started clearing the place and warned everyone not to post anything randomly online. I was a bit annoyed, and my voice turned cold. Mrs. Tudor, for the sake of the Tudor family today, I won't hold you accountable for your nonsense, but if there's a next time, don't blame me for being ruthless. After saying that, I called the security guards and had Luna forcibly removed that night when I got home. As soon as I pushed the door open, I was yanked in and pressed against the wall. A man's clear voice sounded in my ear, sounding a bit aggrieved. Man, I'm jealous. He even deliberately drank until he vomited blood. Why didn't he just vomit to death? I broke free from his restraint. Jasper, how did you get the password to my house? Jasper's eyes were pitch black, and he looked at me with wet eyes, looking a bit cute. Grandpa Howard asked me to move in. Only then did I notice that many of his things had been placed in the originally somewhat empty room, adding a bit of a homely atmosphere. I couldn't help but frown. His eyes were fixed on me, seeing me frown. He immediately apologized pitifully. Don't be angry. If you don't want me here, I'll move out right away. As he said this, he was about to go and pack his things. I stopped him. Forget it. Anyway, we're getting married at the end of the year. His eyes lit up immediately, and he looked at me cheerfully. Are you tired? Let me show you around. I was actually curious to see what else he had done, so I quietly followed him into the house. Looking up, I saw a huge poster of our two-person photo hanging on the second-floor mezzanine. The scene looked rather comical. I couldn't help but laugh. I decorated it a little. Do you like it? He looked at me expectantly, like a puppy waiting for its master's praise. It was hard to imagine that the man in front of me was the decisive and legendary figure in the business world when Jasper was 18 years old. The head of the Percy family passed away unexpectedly, and he took over the Percy family in a hurry. In just 3 years, he built a huge business empire around the Percy Group. With immeasurable assets, the Percy family soared, rising above all the aristocratic families in Beijing, and he was only 21 years old. 5 years younger than me when I saw him in the workplace before. I always thought he was mature beyond his age, with a calm, reserved, and unfathomable personality. Today, I finally saw the youthful spirit that should belong to his age. I didn't have the heart to dampen his enthusiasm, so I casually complimented. The photo is well chosen. Jasper was stunned for a moment, and his fair ears instantly turned bright red, and it seemed as if the blush would spread from his neck to his face. He murmured, I also think this one looks the best. I was a bit taken aback suddenly. I realized that we were a bit too intimate in this photo, making my compliment seem rather ambiguous. I felt a bit embarrassed but forced myself to remain calm. I'm tired. I'll go rest first. Then I went straight upstairs. I wasn't surprised that Grandpa would let Jasper move in since he had a serious illness and stepped back from the front line. And my father passed away unexpectedly. The Howard family had been in a declining state. Even though I worked my heart out every day, I could only barely stop the precarious situation and stabilize the overall situation. It was too difficult to rejuvenate the Howard family. He had pinned his hopes on the Tudor family before. But the Tudor family broke off the engagement. Jasper's appearance rekindled his hope. Sarah, it's not that Grandpa doesn't trust you. It's just that with the help of a good wind, one can soar to the sky. Smart people know how to leverage, and the Percy family will be our best support. I of course understood marriages between aristocratic families were one of the means to consolidate power and status. I just couldn't quite accept his eagerness, the eagerness to send me out as a gift to achieve his goals. My childhood friend Casey had a birthday and held a birthday party at a private club. When I walked into the private room, I immediately saw Owen and Luna sitting on the sofa. He raised his eyes and looked at me, with emotion surging in his eyes as if there was a bit of pain. I casually looked away and sat at the other end of the sofa. Casey quickly moved over and whispered to me. I didn't invite him, he came on his own. And he even brought that woman at mine. It's so annoying. I didn't want to talk about this topic, so I took out the birthday gift I had prepared long ago. Happy birthday. She opened the box and exclaimed in surprise. Man, I love you so much. Inside the box was a limited edition women's watch. I had gone through a lot of trouble to get it. Casey hugged me and cockathiously said, "Woo woo woo. Sarah, marry me. I'm willing to be your mistress." Everyone started teasing. "Wake up," compared with Jasper. "You don't have the slightest chance. If I were man, I'd take both of you, Casey on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and Jasper on Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday." Just as we were laughing and making a ruckus, Luna suddenly stood up. Everyone's jokes were abruptly interrupted, and they looked at each other in bewilderment. We saw her say to Owen with a sullen face, "Owen, come out for a moment." Owen got up silently and followed her out. The two of them started arguing in the corridor, and their voices were so loud that we could hear them in the private room, forced to eavesdrop. Everyone felt very awkward. Luna's voice sounded on the verge of collapse. "Since Sarah stepped into this room, your eyes haven't left her. What do you want to do? What on earth do you want to do?" Owen said coldly. "Can you stop being unreasonable?" "I'm being unreasonable?" Luna laughed bitterly a few times. "Then, I'll show you what being unreasonable really means." The door of the private room was suddenly pushed open. Luna rushed into the room like a cannonball. Just like she had rushed into the rain to stop my car 3 years ago, she rushed straight in front of me, pointed at Owen and said, "Sarah, I don't want this man anymore. I'm giving him to you." Owen also rushed in, grabbed her wrist, and tried to pull her away. "Can you stop going crazy? You have no shame." "But my Tudor family still does. Let us talk about it when we get home." Luna shook him off violently and started yelling hysterically, "What are we going to talk about when we get home? That you finally realize that the person you love is Sarah? How you've been secretly pining for her? That you get drunk every day and call out her name?" "I have no shame, Owen. Don't forget who was the one who desperately pursued me back then. I've always said that I'm not a mistress that you powerful people can play with and humiliate at will." Owen's forehead veins bulged. He couldn't bear it any longer and roared, "Yes, I was the one who took the initiative to pursue you back then. But Luna, don't push me to regret it." Luna was stunned. The entire private room fell silent instantly. Luna started laughing maniacally, and as she laughed, tears streamed down her face. "You see? You finally admitted it." Every word was like a drop of blood. Owen slumped dejectedly onto the sofa. I had had enough of this farce. I got up and left. "Casey, I'm leaving." Luna stepped in front of me, blocking my way with tears in her eyes. She looked at me hatefully. "Sarah, you seduced someone else's husband and now you want to run away? You damned bitch." With a cold face, I picked up the bottle of red wine from the bar counter and poured the whole bottle over her head. "Who do you think you are? Dare to act so presumptuously in front of me, just because you climbed up the social ladder by seducing men? You think everyone is as shameless as you?" Luna, drenched in red wine, held her head and shrieked in a sorry state. "How dare you pour wine on me?" I sneered. "How dare I? Because I'm Sarah. Because I'm the heir of the century-old Howard family. And you? What do you have to rely on? Your worthlessness? Your ability to throw tantrums? Or your clown-like behavior? Women who can marry into aristocratic families are never just pretty faces. The ladies have their own battlefields. They help their husbands and families maintain connections, and make strategic maneuvers in their own arenas, but this useless Luna couldn't even be a good vase. I advise you, don't break the high branch you've managed to cling to with great difficulty. Also, recognize your own status. I'm someone you can't afford to offend." Luna hit where it hurt, turned betrayed with anger and said furiously, "Who climbed up the social ladder? Does having money make you so great? You rich people are really disgusting." Her words insulted everyone present. With things turning out like this, everyone looked rather unhappy. "ACI, how can you not even control your wife? She's attacking everyone now." Owen, thoroughly humiliated by her, could only apologize to everyone and finally dragged Luna away by force. What was supposed to be a nice gathering ended in discord. Casey noticed that I was in a bad mood and pestered me to go to a bar for a second round. She was quite familiar with the place and ordered several male models. They lined up, all tall, strong, and handsome. Casey grinned at me. Man, this is probably your first time in such a place. Don't worry, these boys are very obedient and won't do anything inappropriate. She looked at one of the male models who resembled a popular young actor and waved at him. Go and pour Sarah a drink. The boy walked up to me, knelt obediently at my feet, and started pouring me a drink. I frowned and said calmly, stand up and pour it. Casey took a sip of her drink and said to me mysteriously, I heard a funny story the other day. It was about Luna. This woman was really peculiar, just as Owen had described her back then. She had integrity specifically. Although she managed to marry into a wealthy family and rise from rags to riches, she always tried to draw a clear line from the Tudor family. She didn't want to be an elegant lady at home and wanted to work to support herself. The Tudor family tried to pull some strings and arrange for her to walk at a university. But she flatly refused and insisted on getting a government-affiliated job through her own efforts. As a result, she studied at home for a year, but after all that trouble, she didn't pass the exam. Finally, she could only work as a Chinese teacher at a small training institution, earning a monthly salary of 5,000 yuan. Not only that, she was extremely strict with her own family, not allowing them to take even a penny from the Tudor family. Her parents were honest and submissive people, and they would do whatever their daughter said. But some time ago, Luna's brother got into trouble when he stood up for his girlfriend. He accidentally seriously injured someone, and the other party demanded 2 million yuan, or they would send him to jail. Her family was penniless and couldn't possibly come up with 2 million yuan that the Tudor family could, so her parents went to her company and knelt in front of her, crying and begging her to save her brother. Guess what? Luna took out a card with all her savings as 30,000 yuan from her work. Her parents were desperate and couldn't understand why their daughter was so heartless. Are you going to watch your brother go to jail? If your brother goes to jail, his life will be ruined. In fact, whether it was this matter or the 2 million yuan, it was nothing to the Tudor family. If Luna had just said the word, the Tudor family could have settled it in a minute, but she just wouldn't. She had her own principles. I married Owen just because I love him, not for his power or his money. I don't want the Tudor family to look down on me. I don't want people to secretly call me a vampire, a burden, or a troublemaker. I don't want to give people a chance to gossip. You only see my glamorous appearance, but you don't know how hard it is for me in the Tudor family. Is my brother your only child? Am I not your daughter? In fact, the Tudor family treated her quite well, but she was just too sensitive and awkward, not fit to be in high society. This incident caused quite a stir. After learning about it, the Tudor family felt embarrassed and wanted to pay the money for her, but Luna refused since their kindness was rejected. The Tudor family didn't bother to care anymore. In the end, her brother went to jail, and her parents cut off their relationship with her. Casey finally concluded, sigh, do you think Luna is crazy? She actually said she married Owen for love, not for his money. She made her life in a wealthy family so hard just to prove herself. I thought she was really something when she could make Owen crazy about her back then, but turns out she's like this. I smiled. She really hasn't changed at all. People like Luna seem different on the surface, as if they can remain pure in a corrupt environment. But if you look deeper, there's nothing inside, just an inexplicable sense of pride. Left that night. We drank until late. In the end, Casey's private driver sent me home. I fumbled to open the door, kicked off my high-heeled shoes casually, and let my coat fall on the floor. I shuffled slowly into the house. Suddenly, the lights in the living room turned on with a snap. The bright light was a bit blinding. I squinted and looked over. Jasper was standing in the living room, looking at me coldly. You've been drinking? I ignored him, sat down on the sofa, felt a bit headache, and closed my eyes to rub my temples. Then a pair of warm and slender hands came over and gently started massaging for me. Jasper said in a low voice, drink less, your stomach isn't good, and you're prone to migraines. I was a bit annoyed and frowned, asking, did Grandpa tell you that again? The hands that were massaging stopped. I'd opened my eyes and looked at Jasper quietly. He looked a bit aggrieved. Man, do you hate me? Smiling casually. Little brother, why do you have such wild thoughts? It's just a marriage of convenience. Where does hate or love come into play? Jasper was on the verge of crying. He bit his lip, his eyes red, and his expression stubborn. But I like you. I found it both funny and ridiculous. I sized him up and down. Identities may change with time and circumstances, but interests don't. Only interests are the strongest bond to maintain relationships. Jasper, I don't need love as long as our interests are aligned. I can grow old with you. He was silent for a long time. Then suddenly asked out of the blue, do you still like Owen? I was extremely disgusted and immediately shook my head. No, I only like myself. A strong female that only loves herself. Only small-time characters get trapped by love. Jasper somehow became happy again. He said that he liked the person I liked in terms of the principle of aligned interests, and that we were sure to grow old together. I was speechless. In fact, I didn't understand where Jasper's love for me came from when I asked him. He didn't say anything. I wasn't interested in knowing desperately. So I didn't bother to ask anymore. A few days later, I ran into Owen at a business dinner. What bad luck. I turned around and left, but he quickly chased after me. Man. I stopped and greeted him with a fake smile. Owen. His expression was a bit bitter. Do you have to be so distant from me? We grew up together as childhood friends. I'm sorry for what happened last time. I interrupted him. Stop, Owen, if there's nothing else, I'll be leaving. With that, I turned to go. Owen grabbed my hand, his eyes red, and said obsessively, what if everything she said is true? I finally realized that the person I like the most is you. Can you give me another chance to choose me? It was extremely disgusting and revolting. I shook him off expressionlessly. I don't care who you like. Sarah. Never take back trash. Back then, you insisted on breaking off our engagement and marrying Luna, although our stances were different. I actually kind of admired your pure stupidity. Now it seems that you don't even have that pure stupidity. You were just a shameless scumbag. Owen's face turned pale, and he watched me leave, looking lost unexpectedly. This scene was secretly photographed by someone with ulterior motives and made it to the top of the hot search list. Although my secretary reacted quickly and the hot search was taken down soon, netizens' enthusiasm for discussion was still extremely high. Some people spread rumors that Owen's marriage was in trouble, and the fairy tale of the Cinderella marrying into a wealthy family had finally come to an end. Others spread that I was the mistress interfering in their marriage. I was already engaged to Jasper, and it was shameless of me to still be thinking about my married ex-boyfriend Luna. Of course, wouldn't miss such a good opportunity. She went on X overnight and posted some ambiguous words, seemingly confirming my interference. Casey was indignant and directly engaged in a public confrontation with her on X. It's really bad luck to be stuck with you two pieces of shit. One is a scheming woman who climbed up by being a mistress, and the other is an unfaithful scumbag acting all innocent. The scumbag and the bitch are a perfect match. Lock them up together, you crazy couple. Then someone dug up the incidents of Owen winking until he had gastric bleeding at my engagement banquet and Luna making a scene at my company. Public opinion gradually divided into two camps. One camp thought that what goes around comes around, and Luna was reaping what she sowed. Mismatched social status would lead to such an outcome. The other camp thought Luna was pitiful and was being played by the young master. There was another stir on the internet when Grandpa called me back to the old mansion to question me. I happened to be with Jasper. He insisted on going back with me. When we entered Grandpa's study, Silas was already there. How could he miss this opportunity to attack and mock me? Oh, our busy person in the family finally shows up, making the old master wait for you for so long. What a big show, I said calmly. I'm so busy precisely because there's a useless person like you in the company. Grandpa was smart all his life, yet he gave birth to such a fool like you. Silas flew into a rage and raised his hand to slap me. You uneducated slut. Jasper stepped in front of me and pushed his hand away. MRLI. You'd better think twice about your own capabilities before you act next time. Sarah is not only the heir of your Howard family but also my fiancée with either identity. You can't touch her. Understand? Silas was humiliated and his face turned green and white, looking very unpleasant. Finally, he could only say in a sarcastic tone, Jasper is so magnanimous. Sarah's gossip is on the hot search, truly worthy of being the son of the eldest brother. But this kind of thing, for a man, it's called being romantic, and for a woman, it's called being promiscuous. I slapped him hard across the face. Are you awake? If not, I don't mind giving you another slap. Silas's face was so distorted with anger that he could barely contain himself, but he didn't dare to fight back easily. He could only rage impotently. Am I wrong? You slutty woman. I looked at him expressionlessly and slapped him twice more. Come on. Keep scolding, let us see if your mouth is tougher or my slaps are. He was so angry that he was almost foaming at the mouth. Gasping for breath. He glanced at the old master sitting at the head. The old master sat steadily, slowly sipping his tea, watching our confrontation without showing any emotion. I smiled. Stop scolding? Those marketing accounts are spreading false rumors. Instead of standing by me. You can't wait to smear me. What, are you so eager for me to know that you're the one secretly behind this? Ever since I got engaged to Jasper. He was completely out of the race for the heir. He didn't want me to have an easy time and targeted me everywhere. Silas paled, his voice trembling with denial. I don't understand a word you're saying. Stop making baseless accusations. I replied calmly. If you don't understand, so be it, but let me teach you something today. Harmony at home brings prosperity to all endeavors. We're both members of the Howard family. I continued. Our fates are intertwined. Let your schemes backfire. The patriarch finally spoke. Sarah is right, Silas. Apologize to her. Clenching his fists, Silas burst out through gritted teeth. I'm sorry. I smiled magnanimous. No harm done. Ignorance is no crime though, uncle. Perhaps you should read more. It might prevent future mistakes. The barb struck true. Before being recognized by the Howards at 17, Silas had been a street fag who hadn't even completed compulsory education. Later tutoring couldn't undo years of bad foundations. Nothing infuriated him more than reminders of his illiteracy. Unable to bear it, he stormed out. Jasper held my hand firmly, his aristocratic gaze meeting the patriarch's. Grandfather Howard, pay no mind to baseless rumors. Sarah and I are perfectly content. That evening, the old master announced, Jasper, stay for dinner. My early investments in smart manufacturing had paid off spectacularly. Howard Group's financials dazzled. 20 revenue growth, 70 to net profit surge. Our golden age had arrived 1 month later. At the board meeting, grandfather formally named me Howard Group's successor. All shareholders approved except a seething Silas. Hardly surprising, given my 3 years of exemplary interim leadership. As the first female CEO in the Howard dynasty's century-long history, my appointment sent our stock soaring to its daily limit. At the celebratory banquet, Owen and Luna arrived trailing behind the Tudor family heads. The Tudors, eager to mend relations, chatted Amy's TLY with grandfather as if past conflicts never existed. Lady Tudor grasped my hands. Our Sarah has grown into such an accomplished woman. 100 times better than my disappointing children. The barb aimed unmistakably at Owen, their only heir. Still unsatisfied, she added, my son was blind to discard true jade for fish eyes. Luna stood rigid, jaw clenched. I smiled politely until Jasper rescued me during interviews. Luna, somehow credentialed as a reporter, sneered, netizens say you're no true heroine, Sarah. Your success comes merely from privileged birth. As the Tudors darkened, I replied serenely, luck is indeed part of capability. I won't deny my advantages. But in a century of Howards, why am I the only female leader? Do you truly believe birth alone explains that? Undeterred, Luna spat, they say you extorted billions from the Tudors using your broken engagement, then married into the Percy family to consolidate power. How do you respond to claims you climbed over to fiancés? I laughed. How amusingly foolish are these netizens, or you speaking, Mrs. Tudor? But I'll answer, if men may ascend by stepping on women, why shouldn't women do the same? The scandalous declaration ignited the room. How curious. Throughout history, men have proudly leveraged wives, in-laws and connections to succeed, earning praise. These power holders then impose impossible standards on women, demanding they achieve perfection independently or face condemnation. Why should I play by their rules? Why can't I write the game myself? Jasper took the microphone. My wife's brilliance stands on its own merits. I claim no credit. His tone shifted. But know this, Anadada Mane. Should she ever need what I possess, I'd give everything. Stunned, I turned to meet his gaze. And his quiet smile. The interview went viral. Hashtags exploded. Sarah admits climbing over men. Feminine ambition. New rules for a new era. Relationship goals. Public opinion divided. Some praised me, others condemned, but most fixated on our chemistry. Our exchanged glance spawned countless fan edits. Meanwhile, Luna's disgrace unfolded. She'd let her brother face prison to avoid burdening the tutors. Netizens marveled at her squandered potential. Married into wealth yet gaining neither connections nor fortune, only estrangement, the ultimate fool for love. After years of silence, my estranged mother suddenly requested to meet Jasper and me. She had been living in seclusion at a mountain temple when she saw Jasper. She studied him for a long moment before finally smiling. "So, you're Sarah Spiank?" Jasper bowed slightly. "Yes, ma'am." Her expression softened. "I saw the video of you protecting her. Knowing she has someone like you by her side puts my mind at ease." Then she turned to me and abruptly, tears welled in her eyes. "Sarah, I failed you." My heart remained still in the beginning. I had hated her. When my father died in disgrace, when I struggled to survive in the Howard family under Constance Corn, she had been absent. Unconcerned. Unmoved. Back then I often wondered. If I died, would she even shed a single tear for me? But these past 2 years, the hatred had faded. Not because I forgave her, but because I no longer cared. Belated affection is worthless whether it's love or regret. I offered her a polite, distant smile. "There's no need for this, madame. Life is but a fleeting journey. And I am merely a passerby. Our bond ended years ago." She understood. Her face fell. On the way down the mountain, I stared blankly out the car window, silent. Jasper, sensing my mood, drove us to the summit instead. As we looked down at the city's glittering lights, his voice was tender but firm. "It's all right, Sarah, if you're tired. Rest in my arms. You're allowed to take a break." And so, for the first time in years, I let myself crumble. I buried my face in his chest and wept, all the loneliness, the exhaustion, the years of fighting alone pouring out at once. The road up the mountain had been treacherous, but at least now, I had finally reached the top. I next heard Doan and Luna's names in the news, announcing their divorce. Their grand, storybook wedding had been like Cinderella's dream. But now, the clock had struck midnight. Owen, humbled by his failed marriage, seemed to have matured somewhat. He tried taking over the Tudor family business but lacked any real business acumen. A series of disastrous decisions left the Tudors a shadow of their former glory. Desperate to secure Howard Group's contracts, he repeatedly begged for a meeting. I refused every time. As for Luna, she was dismissed from her teaching job. The divorce had shattered her. She wandered through life in a daze, muttering to herself, "Our love was so pure, untouched by greed or power. How did it end like this?" Why, even now, she didn't understand. Her fatal flaw had always been her pride, her belief that integrity alone was enough. That same pride had once drawn Owen to her. Pride built her fairy tale. Pride destroyed it eventually. Luna vanished from the city altogether. On our wedding night, at the most crucial moment, I stopped and pinned Jasper down, demanding the truth. What did he really want from me? He looked up at me, eyes glistening with wounded innocence. His lashes, darkened unfairly long, fluttered slightly. The faint flush at the corners of his eyes made him look both tempting and pitiful. He whispered hoarsely, "Are you trying to kill me?" I arched a brow. "Talk." And so, between ragged breaths, he confessed the first time he saw me was at my father's funeral. While others criticized me for not shedding a tear, I had slipped away to the courtyard. Indifferent to their judgment, he followed me and said, "It's okay. They don't understand sometimes. Grief is too deep for tears." I remembered that day. At the time, I'd found him odd, not because I was too numb to cry, but because I hadn't felt anything at all. Later, when news of my engagement to Owen reached him, he wanted to stop it. But he was only 17 then, powerless. A year later, when Owen left me for Luna, Jasper was ready to confess. Until his own father suddenly died thrust into leading the Percy family, he feared dragging me into his chaos. 3 years passed before he finally stabilized the family business. Only then did he dare approach me with a marriage proposal. His love for me had begun as a boy's first crush, a spark that never faded. The story was unexpected yet made perfect sense. Jasper gazed up at me, eyes damp. "Sarah, I love you." My answer was a slow, deep kiss. The room grew heated again. "Fine, this once, I'll believe him."